Good evening. Welcome to the City Club this evening. My name is Joe Stills. I'm representing the new leaders. Our guest this evening is Mayor Jay Williams. He's the mayor of Youngstown, Ohio. Our title of the program will be called Shrinking Cities, a Challenge for New Leaders. Jay Williams has attracted widespread attention since he's become the first African American to be elected mayor of Youngstown, Ohio in November 2005. Williams, who is currently 36 years old, is also the city's youngest mayor. Youngstown has moved progressively under Mayor Williams' leadership, and Mayor Williams has fielded national and international invitations from organizations, communities seeking to learn more about the Youngstown's innovative recovery efforts. Mayor Williams' leading efforts have been a direct impact on improving the quality of life for the citizens of Youngstown. Under his leadership, neighborhoods are being revitalized, aggressive policies are targeting crime. The city has increased investment in its economic development programs, taking special care to enhance those programs designed to assist female, minority, and disadvantaged business entities. Youngstown is also advancing in the ambitious regional agenda intended to facilitate more productive economic cooperation throughout the metropolitan area. A recipient of the 2007 John F. Kennedy New Frontier Award, a prestigious honor awarded to an elected official under 40s based on a commitment to public service. Mayor Williams has spearheaded the Youngstown 2010 initiative. This visionary plan has revitalized Youngstown's neighborhoods. We have seen the demolition of abandoned houses and the acquiring of land by businesses for future economic development. Articles on Youngstown's Renaissance has appeared in publications such as the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, New York Times, and U.S. News and World Report, just to name a few. Furthermore, Youngstown is a part of the Cleveland Plus campaign, a collective marketing effort including the Greater Cleveland Partnership, the Convention and Visitors Bureau of Greater Cleveland, and Team NEO. Along with Cleveland, Akron, and Canton, is a marketing effort for Northeastern Ohio for Northeastern citizens to live, educate, and raise their families. Former Democratic President John Edwards stated that the city of Youngstown is committed to their people, as he was referring to the retraining of the workforce for the 21st century. And finally, early on during this campaign, the presidential campaign of Barack Obama actively sought the endorsement of Mayor Williams, and he gave them his endorsement initially in the campaign. Without further ado, I'd like to present to you the mayor of Youngstown, Ohio, Mr. Jay Williams.
Good evening. Thank you, Joe, for the gracious introduction. I'd like to begin by thanking the Executive Director, Jim, and Carrie, the Public Relations Manager, and all of the staff members who were involved in, the sponsors who were involved in inviting me to speak at this venerable institution. I have been to the City Club on 2 or 3 occasions prior to this, and certainly am somewhat familiar with the history. And to be standing in a place that has had so many outstanding and notable speakers is certainly an humbling experience. So I don't take that for granted, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and to address the New Leaders Program here this evening to talk about challenges and opportunities as it relates to dealing with our shrinking cities, our communities, and also a mantra that I have been talking about to new leaders as we go forward into these very tumultuous economic times and social times, that I'm excited about the prospect of new leaders adopting a mantra that will certainly, I think, be beneficial as we see our way through these very difficult times. It was 150 years ago that Charles Dickens gave us the words that said that it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was a season of light. It was a season of darkness. It was the spring of hope, the winter of despair. We had everything before us, and we had nothing before us. We are all going directly to heaven, or we are all going directly the other way. Now, while the author was talking about the period of time during and leading up to the French Revolution, he could have just as easily been describing the environment that we are all now facing. The economic turmoil that has gripped the nation and is spreading across the globe can certainly conjure up parallels of historic and epic proportion. The brutality of the economic environment is particularly pronounced in our nation's cities, specifically cities like Youngstown, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and many others. However, as it's been said, out of great challenges arise great opportunities. Now, the Cleveland City Club was wise to establish a program for new leaders to tap into what has unfortunately become our greatest export, and that is our young, talented, and ambitious young professionals. As I was reading through the program stated that the New Leaders Program gives these young professionals an opportunity to establish a network with established leaders. Now, I got a little sensitive because I still consider myself a young professional, and standing here as an established leader, I could maybe take that for a code word for being old. And the closer I get to my 40th birthday, and the more I have to reconcile that my 40th birthday is closer than my 30th birthday, I do cling to that notion of considering myself still a part of this younger generation. So for liberty of the remarks this evening, we're going to define new leaders not just simply by age, but also by mindset and by thinking. And certainly as it comes to approaching the challenges and the problems that we see today, I'm excited about the prospect of what I see of a new generation of leaders coming on board, but I'm also excited about the prospect of seeing a changing mindset in some of the established leaders. I'm convinced that the ambitions and the talent that we have, the ambitions and the talents that we have represented here today certainly provide a bright spot in a very otherwise dismal future and present that faces us. I'd like to talk for a few minutes about new leaders that are emerging in Youngstown, Ohio, tackling issues that are not uncommon to what we've seen in Cleveland or Detroit or other cities across this nation. Just for the benefit of giving you a little bit of perspective, Youngstown, Ohio was built on the Mahoning River as a steel manufacturing powerhouse. It was a number of decades ago that Youngstown, Ohio was the center of the steel producing region, much like Cleveland, much like Pittsburgh. The city was once known as the third largest steel manufacturing producer in the nation. The city was teeming with wealth and population. The city's population peaked at 175,000 and was actually expected to exceed 200,000. The city of Youngstown was laid out to accommodate 250,000 people and had a very bright future ahead of it. Well, as is no secret to anyone familiar with Northeast Ohio and cities like Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Detroit, that all changed suddenly and very drastically, and specifically in 1977, and if you talk to anybody in Youngstown, they'll tell you about Black Monday in September of 1977. While the decline had started somewhere before that, September of 1977 stands out because it was the day that many of the major steel mills announced that they were closing. And in a matter of 3 to 5 years, 30,000 high-paying manufacturing jobs were lost. Well, you can imagine for a city that defined itself by this one industry, the heart and the soul of the city were lost with those manufacturing jobs. In the period of 1977 to probably the next 20 to 25 years are often called the lost years. The city not only lost its identity and its manufacturing and industrial base, the city lost itself in terms of the psychological and emotional impact. There was a study done by the Harwood Institute that said people in the Youngstown community, the Mahoning Valley, were indeed waiting for the future. There was a great deal of cynicism and apathy that had set in. As a matter of fact, the people of Youngstown, the void that was created when the industrial powerhouses left were filled with things that weren't very productive as it related to the community. The people of Youngstown oftentimes grasped at empty promises made by politicians or traveling salesmen, and there was just not a whole lot of leadership. Not that there weren't individuals or organizations trying to fill that void, but for a city that had defined itself by one industry and one industry alone, that collapse took decades to get over. I oftentimes try to give people examples of how bad it got, and one of the instances that just keeps coming to mind is the economics of the city obviously changed, and as manufacturing was declining across the country and going to other parts of the globe,